right, here we are. Another episode in season 5. We have here, this is my first Texas country music artist that I'm going to interview. I hope that it's not my last. I've actually watched his career for a little while, going a little ways back. Wade Bowen, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm your first Texas guy, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah. You're the first one. You're the first one as far as I can remember. Because once I do these things, I typically kind of forget the interview until it's out after I do editing. I'm like, then I just move on to the next one. But I can tell you who I've interviewed, but I can't tell you. But so I know for a fact that I haven't done a Texas country artist. So this is the first one. I'm very excited to have you. How you been, man?
I've been great. Just so busy. You know, it's be careful what you wish for, right? We got locked down forever, and now I'm like, okay, well, hold on, y'all. Let's not do everything we get called to do. But it's a good problem, man. I love it. I'd much rather stay busy than because I get lazy when I'm bored. So
that makes two of us.
Yeah,
that makes two. I start going stir crazy when I get bored.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. Mainly I just get real lazy. Like I'll just sit around and do nothing. I'm like, man, I got to get up and do something.
Yeah, I'll end up watching TV and watching Netflix. Like I think the first 6 months of the whole pandemic, when it first happened, I actually binge watched probably 20 TV shows.
Oh yeah,
because there was nothing to do. You couldn't go out and do anything. Like you didn't know whether or not you were going back to work or whatever. You know, it was just like, okay.
Yeah, I was the same way. I watched everything I could, and then after a few weeks, I'm like, well, I watched everything. What am I going to do now?
Right. It's like, oh, now I'm watching reruns.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm watching the reruns. So Texas man, you were born in I always pronounce this wrong, but Waco, Texas, right?
Yeah, not Wacko.
Not Wacko.
People call it that.
No, not Wacko. Not Wacko. So tell us, what was it like you growing up in Waco, Texas?
So I grew up. I had 3 sisters, no brothers. That should explain it all, right there.
That explains everything.
That's all you need to know about me. Everybody listening right now just goes, okay, we don't need to listen to the rest. We got it. But I grew up 2 older sisters, 1 younger, and it was very, it was a great childhood. I had a lot of fun, did the whole, played a lot of sports and had music around at all times. My mom was heavily, influenced in music. She loved it. She always pushed me to do it. My 2 older sisters were the same way, but I was the only one who really chose to do it full time. The only one who chose to do it at all for a career. Everybody else just loves it. I mean, they still, to this day, my mom and dad and 3 sisters are my biggest fans, and they come out all the time to watch shows. They love my career as much as I do. So it's fun.
So what was your motivation? Because obviously you've had your family, everyone, who are musically inclined. So what was your motivation to go full time and their motivation to stay?
It was just like, they just have a love for music. They didn't really want to pursue anything. But they were the ones who were taking me to my first concerts when I was like 6 years old. I think I saw Alabama was my very first concert. And they were dragging me around to all these cool shows. And they're the ones who introduced me to a lot of that early country music that became obsessed about. They're the ones who introduced me to Alabama. They introduced me to George Strait, to Steve Wariner. And then it was Garth Brooks and Vince Gill and Alan Jackson and the 90s, with Travis Tritt. I mean, they were dragging me around to every single concert and everything they could do. And that was a really, really big part of my childhood. Growing up in Waco, there was the mainstream country station there. And that's kind of what we listened to and what we kind of based everything off of. But then as I got older, then my dad's influences started coming out with Willie and Waylon and Guy Clark and Robert Earl Keen and those guys. And that's when I really started diving into songwriting. So it was a weird transition from all the mainstream stuff into a more songwriter influenced college career,
So I want to ask this question because I've never asked anyone this question. And you being the first Texas country artist on here. what is the main difference? So what do you think, in your opinion, is the difference between mainstream country radio that comes out of Nashville and Texas country music?
Well, I think that's a big diverse answer, because if you're talking about, there's just as many diverse artists in Texas as there are in Texas music, as there are in Nashville. Nashville, you have the mainstream acts, but then you also have, the Guy Clarks, Rodney Crowell's, Radney Foster, those people that are there that are more Americana. So I think it can be diverse. I just try to tell people, like, my career, I've tried really hard to make music that can be played, not just in Texas, that can be played all over. We go tour all over the world, and I try to have music that is that's universal as possible, because I've always loved that about the music that I grew up listening to, and then becoming a big fan of like Springsteen and stuff. I've always loved that the music is universal. It can, even though you're writing about certain areas, you can still appeal to mass audiences. And I've really tried hard to be an artist from Texas instead of just a Texas artist. But I think the biggest part of my career has been, I grew up wanting to play country music and wanting to do what I'm doing now. But I thought my whole life that I would have to wait tables, move to Nashville, wait tables, and wait my turn to get the big record deal. And that's all I ever knew. And then I saw Robert O'Keefe in concert when I was in college, and went, oh wait, this place is sold out. He's doing what he wants to do, having a blast, very successful. And I can go start a band right now. And that's what I did. And so I started my career way before I probably should have, just because I threw myself into those shark infested waters, and just tried to swim my way out. And so I think the biggest difference for me has always been, I haven't focused the majority of my career on making records that revolve around radio. I make records that I know I'm going to go out and play live. And that makes a big difference when I'm writing songs, when I'm making records too. I think it's the way you approach it. So
yeah,
so I could go on about that.
I was thinking about that. I mean, I call Texas country the rebel country is what I call it, and I only call it rebel. And it's not an insult. It's more, and this is not an insult to either, mainstream country or anything, but it's more so. There's more passion and more authenticity, more realness rather, in Texas country than I think in a lot of mainstream country. This is not an insult, but because you're not all, like you just said, you're not always trying to get played on the radio. Right. You're not trying to get, I'm not going to write a song that's trying to get, I have to know what radio wants to hear or whatever. You're not trying to play that game. That's fine. You're putting music out there because that's what you want to do. And that's what your passion is for. Not saying that mainstream doesn't do that, but there's some commerciality that mainstream does more so than Texas country.
It's that more mass appeal thing that has to be, if you're going to be played on the radio and be successful, it has to have mass appeal. And I think for the most part, Texas artists are more specific with their songs, specific and direct, because they can be. And I think that's just a product of being around it.
Right. It's just a product of who you are. It's just, and what the lifestyle is down in Texas. I've never been that's a lie. I've been to Texas one time. Yeah, I've been to Texas once. I've been to Dallas. You're not a Cowboys fan, are you?
I am, yes. Not fun to be a Cowboys fan. So
I'm an Eagles fan. So this is a little uncomfortable now.
Can we end this interview? I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to end this interview right here.
Here, we'll agree to disagree. Shake hands.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
Neither one of us have a lot to brag about. So,
which one? I'm trying to figure that one out because neither one of us.
Neither one of us. But you have a more recent Super Bowl win than we do.
That's the only thing we can brag about. I can't really even be proud of that anymore because we've just gone so downhill.
Yeah.
since.
Well, I don't know. We had such high expectations this year and then just fell off. So
I don't understand how you can't how you don't realize that you can't pull off a play in 13 seconds. I mean,
it's just nuts.
Without the official.
Let's not relive it. I'm like,
okay, all right. I did see a thing that went around. I was going to send it to you, but it was from Roger Goodell. It was a fake letter and saying, so we're trying to reduce the issue of having home teams play in a football stadium for a Super Bowl, like we've had Tampa Bay last year. Now we had LA Rams. So next year we're going to have it in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
Hey, I wouldn't blame them. I understand completely.
where we know a home team will be playing.
Oh, ouch! That hurts, but it's the truth. It's rough.
That's funny. So let's talk about this great artwork of when phones don't work.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you.
Where phones don't work, rather.
Where phones don't work, yeah.
I love phone. I love this album. I listened to it this morning. I listened to it last night, day before. I love this. What was your mindset going into writing this?
Well, I probably wrote more coming out of 2020 and 2021. I probably wrote more than I've ever written in my life in a single year. I'm sure it was a combination of being excited to be on stage again and being being back on the road a little bit and just all of that, just kind of being out of the mess. It probably had a lot to do with it, but I made some business changes. I made some, kind of hit the reset button on a lot of things in my life. And so I just feel better than I ever have. I love music right now more than I maybe ever have in my entire career. So I feel like I'm writing the best songs I've ever written. And, everyone unfortunately was releasing records or getting set to release records because when we were all off, that's all we did was write songs and record stuff. And so when it came time, we work with 30 Tigers as our label. And when it came time to release a record, they were saying we couldn't get it out till this year, till 2022. And I was like, I feel like I'm writing some of the best stuff of my career. I can't wait that long. I can't sit around and wait that long for a record to come out. So we got together and came up with this 6-song EP that I felt at the time was the best stuff that I'd written, and just thought, for our fans and trying to make new fans, it would be really beneficial for us to get this stuff out there. And I really feel like it's, some of the best stuff I've ever written. And I just now finished another record, brand new record, 12 brand new songs that I produced myself for the first time. And that's coming out, later this year too. I'm just love music. And that's, I think this EP is the first taste of all that's coming here in the next few years with my career. And I'm so excited about that. It feels good. No matter what happens, it feels good to have that.
So so speaking of this track list here, you have songs like Phones Don't Work, Where We Call Home, The Last Town in Texas, When Love Comes Around, which I believe is a single right now, the lead-off single. But this is the one that gets me because I want to know how the hell you get in the room with Steve Earle. The song Trouble Is. So was that a dream come true for you, writing with Steve Earle?
Yeah, it was. And the craziest thing about it was I had to write with him on Zoom because the way that it was set up and because of the times we're in, we couldn't get in the same room. So I had to, I'd never even met Steve before. So not only am I meeting my hero for the first time, but I'm actually writing with him for the first time. And I'm like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like it was, but it was so much fun to meet him. And, most Zoom writes last for like an hour and a half, probably maybe, because you kind of can't hear very well. You just kind of get the idea, the gist, and then you kind of finish it later and stuff. We were on Zoom for 3.5 hours, just having a blast talking. I was listening to every story he wanted to tell. And, and to not only write with your heroes and get along with them and then to be cool, but to get a song that you love. I mean, I wrote with Guy Clark, which I was probably is equally as nervous writing with him as I was with Steve. But to actually get a song that I wanted to cut, he even asked me, he's like, what do you think? Like, as we're writing it, do you think you would cut this? And I was like, man, I think this is an absolutely incredible song. I'm really proud of it already. We're not even done with it. And 3.5 hours later on a Zoom call, it was it was written and recorded like 2 weeks later. So it was a dream come true for me. It could not have been any nicer, and such an honor to do that. And I hope to get in the room with them.
Did you fangirl? Did you fangirl when you first got on that Zoom?
I tried not to. I'm not a very good like fangirl. Like I don't go nuts. I try really hard to play it cool, which usually hurts me because I end up not like, I've been in the rooms with like people I could have easily walked up to, like Jackson Brown one time in Nashville after the BMI awards. After the ASCAP awards, I was, right across the room from him and could have just walked up, and I just didn't. I chickened out. So I'm not a very good fangirl, but I think with Steve, I played it cool, and I did ask him a few questions that I wanted to as we got more comfortable, and it was really cool. He was willing to talk too. He's willing to tell a lot of stories and talk about his son and talk about towns and talk about Guy, and it was really, really fun for me. It was a lot of fun. Really cool.
Wow, that's crazy. I could only imagine being in your shoes when that happened, especially when that's being one of your heroes, one of the guys you looked up to, and it's, looked up to throughout your whole career and throughout your life, really. Steve Earle is a freaking legend.
Yeah. And, it's cool when you see these guys, I remember that with Guy as well. Like when you see these guys and that they're willing to write with a younger artist, is really cool to me. It shows that's the thing that took my nerves down a notch, because I was like, if they're willing to give it a shot, that shows you that it's probably going to be okay, And it was more than okay. He obviously he's such a legend already, but then you get there talking to him and you see he's just as motivated as ever as well. I mean, he's writing stuff for Broadway, he's writing stuff for movies, and he's writing stuff for TV, and he's kicking ass on every level, and it's. That's why he's writing with younger artists too. Like he just really loves songwriting as much as ever, and that's really cool when you write with your heroes and they're as inspired as ever. I mean, that's what I hope when I'm older as well. I hope that I'm still inspired when I'm their age. I'm
sure you will be. It's just there's too much passion to not be inspired.
Right. I mean, I love music and always will, and I don't think that ever goes away. I've never understood retiring.
Yeah, neither did I. I don't understand either. I think I'm probably going to work till I die.
Yeah.
As most people would say when they're like, I think when you get to a certain point, millionaire kind of thing, then you're like, oh, I'm going to keep working just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
It's because I love doing it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you get bored. I've seen my dad retire here recently in the last 5 years, and he just gets bored, So at least with music, you can do that till you're gone. So that's a beautiful thing of the beauty of our job. I guess we'll call it a job.
Yeah. So what was the motivation and discussions being had when y'all guys decided to have When Love Comes Around as your lead single?
Well, I think just being around a lot of other writers and a lot of other artists, there was a lot of us that were writing a lot of sad songs. A lot of songs are obviously, not necessarily sad, just real intense, like all the emotions that we were trying to write and get out. From the pandemic, it was just a crazy time. And so coming out of that, I wrote a lot of those songs, and just when it came time to put them together on a record, I was like, nobody wants to hear this. They want to hear happy stuff. They want to just not think about this for a while. And that's where I think When Love Comes Around fit that perfectly, not only as a first representation of the EP, but a way to help people kind of just take a deep breath and realize, oh, there is some happiness out there. Let's go hang with this a little bit more. Let's listen to this. I want to turn this up and make people smile, make people dance, make people feel good. And I think that song really does that. Plus, it's really, like I said, going back to, the main focus, I think, of our stuff is we take songs and go play them live. And it's really helped our live show to have that song every night.
Yeah, I think I had this conversation with Old Dominion about one time is, I think that when they were talking about their album title and everything like that, we all need it. We all need happiness. We all need, like you said, we all need laughter. Because it's been a hell of 2 years, guys. It's been 2 years. So, yeah. So, speaking of happiness, let's talk about what brings you joy. Your family.
Yes.
How long have you been married?
17 years now.
17 years. And she knew what she was getting herself into when she married you.
She did. very lucky that she did. My brother-in-law, he and I married sisters, and he's the lead singer for. Well, he used to have a band called Cross Community Ragweed. Now he's got a band called The Departed. His name's Cody Canada. He's a musician as well. So we're full of it down here in New Braunfels, where I live now, and full of music around. And so they knew what they were getting themselves into. I've never had to really argue with that one or fight it. I mean, she's the wife that goes when I'm worried that I'm gone too much, or hey, I feel like I'm letting y'all down because I'm not here. She's the one that goes, no, we're good. We got this. You go chase your dreams. Go show our two boys, what it's like to chase your dreams and how hard it is and how rewarding it can be. And that's what I always try to do.
It's amazing to have, that support and that love and unconditional love. Cause obviously, being a road rape in your family it's tough. It's a sacrifice, and people don't realize that, it's not about the money. The money is for you. When you get paid for a gig, that's for the time away.
Yeah.
That's for the time away from the family. You'll go do a gig for free because you love the music so much, but that's for the time away from family.
Yeah. I mean, I tell my boys all the time, luckily, I struggled with that a lot when they were really young. And then I had a good friend tell me, they don't know any different. I can't compare my childhood, I was the son of an electrician, Bowen Electric, it was my dad's company. My grandfather started it in 1955. And so my dad was the one who was always there when I got home. He was coaching me in Little League baseball. He was always around, still is, and I struggled with that for a long time, but my kids, they only know what their childhood has been like. And, they know that they have a dad who leaves, but they also know that they have a dad who's constantly calling them and constantly telling them, hey, I can't wait to come home. That's my favorite thing in life, is coming home to them. And they know that. And I think as long as it's a crazy life, what we do, and a crazy job for sure, man. But, it's very rewarding on so many levels. And it's hard. But I think if you just do your best to show them love and show them that you're, like I tell them all the time, we'll go to Disneyland. I remember sitting at Disneyland eating like a pretzel or something with them, going, hey, the only reason we get to do this stuff is because I have to be gone. I have to go play shows, but
right.
We get to do fun stuff like this. And so they get it. They understand. They've never once, my wife or my two boys, they're 16 and 13 now. So they've never once thought twice about it. Is the music rubbing off on them? Are they looking to get into music business too? I'm not sure about that yet. I think they're still trying to figure it out. I sure don't push them. All I've ever tried to do is introduce them to as much as possible, whether it's sports or music or some kind of social stuff or studying or whatever it may be.
Right.
Just try to introduce them to stuff and let them figure out what they love. And my youngest boy is a fantastic drummer. Whether he wants to do something with it or not, it's up to him. And then my older boy is a fantastic singer and a fantastic piano player. So once again, he's just focused right now on college and what he's going to do with that. So I don't push him on any of it, but if they want to do it, I was kind of late to it anyway. I didn't start taking music seriously till I was about 17. So they have time.
I think there's a lot of people. I think a lot of artists become or athletes before they actually become musicians. They don't start playing. Like Kenny Chesney didn't start playing until he was in college.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think it's just the way it is. I think it's important to be a kid. It's important to, and I'm all about chasing dreams. And any kid that starts to do their dream really young, I think that's incredible. But I think, the way my kids are raised, the way I was growing up, I was constantly switching dreams every week. I wanted to be a football star, then I wanted to be a rock star, then I wanted to, be a baseball star. I mean, it would change every week or every month, and that's what dreams are about. You go. That's to me, that's the beauty of being a kid. Take it all in and just dream big.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my brother the other day. He's 20 and he doesn't know. He wanted to be a cop and he wanted to be a basketball player, and it's like, that's okay. My mom was giving him a hard time. Well, just pick some. No, he's 20. You have your 20s to literally fuck everything up in your life for 20.
Yeah. That's when you're supposed to make mistakes.
It's when you're supposed to make mistakes, learn, and then 30 is when you're starting to like realize the man or woman you want to be.
Yeah, I agree, man. And then some people do it sooner, and some people do it later.
Yeah,
I think we get caught up in all this, like, you're supposed to know what you want to do, like, blah blah blah. I've got a song on an old record. The record's called Lost Hotel, but there's a song on there called Walking Along the Fence Line. It's all about that. It's the frustration that everyone thinks you're supposed to. They tell you in society you're supposed to have everything figured out, and even in college, you got to pick your major and know what you want to do, and then go start work and all that stuff. And it's all that song and everything at that time was just about hey, it's okay to not have it figured out. I think that's kind of the beauty of making all those mistakes while you can and take some chances and figure stuff out.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because if you don't make mistakes, then you're not. What are you doing with your life? Like, what exactly are you doing with your life? If you're not making mistakes to learn more about yourself and to learn where you want to go and to toughen out, need some tougher skin, then what the hell are you doing with life?
Exactly. Exactly.
Life is full of mistakes. I keep trying to tell people it's okay to make mistakes. It's all right.
You have to. You're never going to learn.
No. So what's next? Are you getting ready to go on tour? You just announced a tour?
I don't know. I don't ever stop touring. We're always on tour. If I get a week, I got a weekend off last week, and I thought it was a year. It felt like a year to me.
Good Lord.
It's crazy what we do, but that's the way it's always been for me. I'm always on tour. We usually play, probably 12 to 17 shows a month on average. And, I love doing it. I wouldn't trade it any. I love being gone. Then I have my trips to Nashville to do work and write and make records and all that as well. So
you've done over 4,000 shows.
Yeah.
It's a lot of damn shows, man.
A lot of shows, man. It's a lot of shows. But I always told myself that I would stop doing shows or stop doing as many whenever I stopped enjoying them. Whenever it stopped being fun and became a job, then I would stop doing it. And I haven't even come close to that in my mind. We played the San Antonio Rodeo to like 13,000 people on Sunday afternoon. And it was just, man, it was a dream come true this far into my career. It still is a dream come true. I love it. It's so much fun. And wow. Like I said, I'm enjoying music now probably more than I ever have. I feel like I'm 25 again, but I have a lot more knowledge, and that feels good.
Right. That's insane. Because you feel like you're 25. Feeling like you're 25, but how does your body really respond to that?
Well, I don't want to go there. I can't drink like I used to. I'll tell you that much. I think I can. There's nights when I think I can, then I wake up, I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, my body's a different story, man.
You feel like we're 25. Like I feel like I'm like 15, but my body is telling me I'm 15.
Yeah, up here's 25.
Yeah,
everywhere else, I'm not sure.
Everywhere else is like
like 65.
It's the undying courage that we have.
Hey man, go for it though. You're only as old as you feel, so they say. I don't know.
So they say.
Depends on what day you ask me, I guess.
Yeah. Today I feel like I'm 15 today.
Yeah.
Today. Tomorrow probably
not. We're feeling good.
I'm feeling good today. Tomorrow probably not. After the gym workout tonight, probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. At least we have it today.
Exactly. So you've played the Opry multiple times, right?
Sure have.
So, what's been your favorite time playing at Opry? Because the Opry is just, I've only been in the Opry one time, and that was the week before the floods. So
wow.
Third time been in the Opry. And I've seen Jimmy Dickens play. So it was really cool to see Jimmy Dickens play. And Chris Young was still wearing a cowboy hat back then. But what's been your favorite moment at the Opry?
I'll say, that's really tough because every time I play the Opry, it feels like the first time. It's that special every time you play there. You get treated so kind. I thought the first time I played there that I was going to get well, hey, you should feel lucky to be here, that kind of attitude, And it was the complete opposite. Everyone's so grateful that you're there. They treat you so kind, so nice, such great, kind people. So I love every time I get the chance to be on that stage. I never take it for granted. Absolutely love it. But I will say my favorite time was it was when I was on Columbia Records. I had a major label deal for a while, and with that came some cool opportunities. And so about a week out, it was during CMA week, fanfare. What it used to be fanfare. I don't know what it is now.
I think it's Fan Fest now.
It's Fan Fest. Yeah.
I think.
During that week.
I know stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And, they have all those shows going on all over. Well, they were doing a special Saturday early matinee at the Ryman during that. The 2 shows that day. And so they called and asked if I wanted to play the early slot on the early Ryman and at the Ryman, which I'd done the Grand Ole Opry House, but not the Ryman yet. And so I flew in from wherever I was on the road and got ready. And then my wife was out and my kids were out in California on vacation. And they flew in, surprised me. And I have this song called Before These Walls Are Blue that I wrote about both my boys. And I got to play a couple of songs with my band and then sent them off and played just me and my guitar with that song for them, sitting in the crowd. During the day at the Ryman, when the sun is coming through the stained glass up top, it was one of those moments that I'll never forget. It was my favorite time one of my favorite times I've ever been on stage, but also one of my favorite times to ever to be around my kids and have them see what I do and to have them out, pretty much front row, singing the song I wrote about them. It was pretty cool.
Wow. Now that's pretty magical. I wish I was there to see that. That sounds pretty freaking magical to me. No, because it's when you have moments like that, you gotta cherish them, especially the time that we're in. You gotta cherish those moments. So
I had another cool time at the Opry. Of course, like I said, every time's like it's a moment. Like you're like, wow, I can't believe this. But I did have I played one time. I got invited to play, and I called Steve Warner. There's this story from the first time I ever went to the Opry. My mom and dad took me there when I was about 6 or 7, and I fell asleep halfway through, as kids tend to do.
As kids do.
And it's always been a joke because I missed Steve Warner play because he was the headliner that night at the Opry, the last performance. And it was a joke. Of course, this is probably 83, 82. So, it's always been a joke in my family that I missed Steve Warner playing the Opry. So I called him and told him this story and asked him if he would come join me. I said, and surprise the crowd and bring you on stage and say, I finally get to see Steve Warner play the Opry. And he did. He showed up, we played one of his songs, and then he played some guitar on one of my songs. And man, it was a dream come true for me. And finally I told the crowd the story, and I think it was a really cool Opry moment for everybody.
Wow.
He's such a great guy.
That's freaking cool. Yeah, that's one person I would love to interview because he is, I call him sleeper acts as far as like just one of those where he had a huge career, and I don't think really I think today's generation doesn't really know him or doesn't really understand.
Not like they should.
Exactly, not like they should. So it's one person I definitely want to interview because he is, damn, he's good.
Well, yeah, he's fantastic. He's so many hits that, the list just goes on and on and on. And then on top of that, he's one of the sweetest, kindest, nicest people you'll ever meet. And so it's a really good time being around him. I love whenever we catch up on the phone. It's like, we talk for like an hour. This is a guy that I've just become friends with in the last few years, and it's a dream come true because he's been a hero of mine forever. And for him to be so cool, once again, meet your heroes, right? They're really, for the most part, I don't think I've ever met a hero that was really rude or awful to meet. So it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So aside from Guy Clark, because you've already done a duet with Guy Clark, I asked every person that I've interviewed this season, who is your dream duet?
Oh gosh, I don't know. There's a lot. I would probably say first would be Bruce Springsteen. I named my oldest son Bruce. I love Springsteen. I've always loved his music. And
have you met him?
No, never have.
Well, that needs to happen.
I would love, yeah. I think the other one would probably be George Strait, or I wouldn't mind doing one with Garth Brooks too. I think any of those three would be really fun.
Well, they all need to happen.
I agree.
They all need to happen.
We'll get the four of us together.
Exactly. There's a number one hit for you guys.
Yeah.
There's another one right there. You know what? That makes me think of back in the day. I say back in the day, but it's probably like 2005 or whatever. When Jimmy Buffett did the cover of "Hey Good Looking," and he had Toby Keith, Kenny Chesney, George Strait, Alan Jackson, all in one song.
See, so maybe I can make it happen.
You can make it happen.
Maybe so. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean,
great.
I kind of discovered Springsteen later in my life, when I was probably 23 or so. And when I say discovered him, obviously I always knew who he was, but really, really dove into what he did because of his record he did after 9/11. I thought that record was which kind of changed his career again, which he's done multiple times. But the record he wrote after 9/11 that inspired him was really inspiring to me. And I started diving into everything he'd ever recorded. And what a fascinating man, what a fascinating individual. It's crazy career.
You want to talk about trendsetter. I haven't actually dove into his yet. I have, but what I did listen to, him and Obama did a podcast together.
Right.
And it was cool hearing just two people from two different sides of train tracks, I'd say. Just sit there and like find common ground and just talk about society, talk about music, talk about life and the difference of where they grew up. And it's like,
I've not checked that out.
You gotta check that out. It's like, I think it's like 6 or 7 episodes of the podcast, but it's them just sitting there, it's a deep conversation. And they're sitting there just like, wow. They talk about racism. They talk about, his Black history, white history, American history, everything. Anything that they can talk about, they talk about when it comes to society. And it's just a great example of finding a common ground that we all have in this country. Yeah,
I need to check it out. I did the whole audiobook of Springsteen's book that he wrote, and he reads the audio himself on the audiobook. So that was pretty cool to listen to.
Yeah.
I saw the Springsteen on Broadway too. It's just he's a very hardworking dude. It's pretty crazy, all the different facets of his career. It's just crazy.
It's insane. I think he just sold his catalog too.
Oh yeah, for like $500 million.
For like $500 million.
Not a big deal.
No big deal at all. No big deal. No big deal.
Mine's probably worth $500. If anybody's interested out there, $500.
That's all it'll take. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, Wade, this has been awesome. I'm glad to finally meet you. I'm glad you are the first Texas country artist I've had on this podcast.
Thank you. I'm
hoping that there's more. I'm going to definitely try to get Randy Rogers on here too. But seriously, thank you so much. I love the album. Y'all need to go listen to this damn EP. If you don't, I swear to God, I'm going to slap you. No, I'm just kidding.
I agree.
I'm kidding, but go listen to Where Phones Don't Work. It's available everywhere. And then go stream the shit out when love comes around.
I agree. All of that.
It's been a great episode. Thanks so much, guys.
My pleasure. Thank y'all. Thanks for having me, man.
Perfect.